Welcome to the Law and Logic Podcast, hosted by Andre Hills, author of But I Said the Ego and international life coach. On the show, we will explore the power of attracting by implementing subtle shifts in perspective, mindset, and actions that will ultimately maximize your experiences. The Law and Logic Podcast. Everything is manifestation. Let's get right into today's show.
All right. So look, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. First of all, the excitement is through the roof, right? I'm so excited to have all of you guys on the call and to have all of you guys on the call at the same time. It's crazy. So what I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna take my time because y'all know when I get excited, everybody that knows me well, I start talking really fast, right? So I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna just, give myself permission to just take my time with this one. And the first thing I want to kind of share with people, the people that's listening, is why we here, right? So to back up just a little bit, you guys know that I started a podcast. Obviously, everybody knows on the call because you guys did an episode with me, except one person. I'm going to come back to that. That one is actually tomorrow, right? Started a podcast called Law and Logic. The name of it was also inspired by somebody on the call. Going to circle back to that. See, it's all connected, right? Going to circle back to that. But Law and Logic, where we talk about everything, the law of attraction, right? So that's what that is. Now, what we're going to do is every Friday, Law and Logic, which is the podcast, is going to present Vibing It Out with Andre, a conversation with the little homies every other Friday, right? And that's what this is, right? And it's interesting because I was real chill yesterday when we was talking about it, I was real chill, but then this morning I really started thinking about it and it hit home. So I do want to share a little bit of my story because a lot of people ask me, how did you become a coach? Or why do you do what you do? And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, this call is for the young black man, right? Because that's what you guys are. That's what I am, even still, right? That need guidance, right? That needs support, that needs hope, that needs to know that they're not alone, right? And that's how it connects to my story because you guys know my mom got killed in a car accident when I was 13. I raised my younger brother. And I was on my own since I was 17. So I know what it's like not to have guidance, right? I know what it's like to not have support. So I know what it's like. So that's why for me, this is really, really huge. You know what I'm saying? Because we want people to know that they're not alone. We want to come vibe it out, right? And we say vibe it out because we care about how we feel, right? And that's a light way to say it. And again, that statement too will come full circle in a minute. But that's really what it's all about for me. It's really all about just making sure, the guidance is there, the support is there, even the hope is there. Because I've been there. How you guys feel about that?
That's huge.
Good, man.
It's really a big deal, and it hit home because I'll tell this story. So I was 13 when my mom got killed in a car accident. I was 14. I remember I wanted to go stay with my grandfather, and I remember sitting on the side of the house with my head and my knees. My head and my knees were touching. And I mean, from my perspective, I was praying, right? At that point, how can I put it? I had not had an experience with God because for me, it takes to having that personal relationship. I could say at 14, that wasn't there. I didn't know that. So all I could do is recall what I heard. Does that make sense? So what I heard was, what I remembered that I heard was use me. So at 14, I'm sitting there crying on the side of the house with my head touching my knees saying, use me, right? 14 years old, and here we are, right? I would like to think on some level, I'm being used even in this moment. 30 years ago, becoming a coach, 40 years now to this moment, doing, still being used. So that it means a lot to me that you guys are here, and it's a lot to me that we're going to have this conversation. It means a lot to me for all the people that just going to hear it and become inspired and join the cause. How we could use our personal stories and journeys to inspire each other, but then even to inspire people that we don't know. Right?
Yeah,
Most definitely.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I'm actually going to go to Mondale first. He may have to jump off. That's my best friend. I'm pointing. I don't know if y'all can see me pointing, but that's my best friend. That's my little brother. He always said his big brother. So that's my little brother. He there's really no words. There's really no words. Everybody on the call, it's been time. I mean, it's been time. Like Jazzy, you, 23 years, right? 23,
Yeah.
24 years in the game.
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Wow.
you got, 15 years in the game, like everybody. And we appreciate Drew being here. I'm going to come back to that too, because low-key, he's the reason why we're here. And he's like the baby of the group. Jimmy, sorry. No more, right?
It's all good.
No, but when I said earlier that Law and Logic was inspired by the name, because Mondale, he's also going to be starting a podcast really soon, and it's called Love and Logic. And he had the idea. He has some amazing content. And that's when I was inspired. I'm like, whoa, you doing Love and Logic. I could do Law and Logic, right? Because for me, as a coach, the law of attraction is my area of expertise. So, Mondale, I just want you to kind of speak, a little bit, because I know you may have to jump off early. What I really want to hear from you guys is, like, why are you excited? I talked about why I'm excited, but why are you most excited to be here now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say honestly, man, I'm just excited, one, to see it come to fruition, like all things manifesting, because I also, like, in being in this area with you, I got to see the work. Like, you hear people talk about work all the time of like, oh, how I invested this time, how I invested this energy, how I invested my mindset. But then many of them really don't do the investment that it really takes. Like, they kind of plant little seeds here and there. I mean, granted, seeds do grow over time, right? So you don't plant today and expect harvest today. But I'm saying with you, I've gotten to see you plant seeds like years back and see them harvested now in the work, man. I mean, and I'm talking truly committed. I can honestly say I don't know very many people in my space that are truly committed to a process like you are, even when it gets really tough. And I mean, it's easiest to run away. You somehow find the grit to dig your heels in and stick it just a little bit more and explore what that faith looks like, what that journey looks like. So it's crazy for me. I'm excited also just to see a band of brothers come together. You know what I mean? And commissioned under one good person that's like, I'm here to see everybody win, and that's consistent.
Yeah.
That's my big, like, that's what I'm really excited about, bro. For real.
That's what's up. Jazzy, again, I'm gonna go ahead and jump to you, because again, you're the person that's known me longest on the call. But because I just told you last night, right? We was having a conversation last night, and mind you, again, you're in LA, so it's 8 o'clock in the morning for you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know you don't really do early like that, so you being on the call, but why are you excited?
I'm excited because I've seen the growth also, and it's just amazing that we get to be a new version of ourselves, knowing where we came from, and even the display of the growth, like me being here on this call and accepting and growing and being able to be on time and to be where I promised to be, being committed, like, right? There's a relationship, there's a bond there to be present with the ones that you love. And I think the love is the foundation of what we're doing. We may not know the next person, but we're coming from a place of love, and you can't go wrong there.
Right. That's what's up. Nice. Mr. Joseph, Robert Joseph. Why you again, let me say this part real quick, because this is a true statement. I cannot tell my story without calling your name. Actually, everybody's name on the call, but I can't tell the beginning of my story without calling your name. And I tell you that every time when you guys hear the podcast episode that we did, you'll hear more details about that. But it means a lot to me, because I literally cannot tell my story without saying, see, I even get emotional right now, which is crazy. Didn't expect to, but it's all good. Without calling your name. And that's crazy for me. Like, and you still here, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So talk to us about why you're excited.
Wow, where do I begin? I woke up this morning, just jumping out of the bed, just started my morning routine and setting my laptop up, and just getting ready to do this podcast. And for the first time in a very long time, it felt good to go into work, put it in that work, that creativity, and talk amongst people within my tribe and with everyone having a certain, well, everyone has a connection with Andre. We all can come together and really talk about like our experiences and be relaxed. And to be honest with you, just meeting you guys for the first time. No, I met a few, but James and Mark. I'm looking forward to building good, lasting relationships, friendships with you guys, and that's something, especially during this whole pandemic, that I've been missing. Is that interaction with brothers like myself who has a story to share and who has ideas, and where we can put our thoughts and together and create something that can last a long time and on a platform that we own and we could contribute and control. So that's the most exciting. That's the reason why I'm excited about this podcast here.
Right. Okay, Jimmy, what about you?
I mean, to be honest, I just feel like it's a ditto from what everybody was saying. Everyone said a little bit of what I had thought. I mean, Andre's been there since, and we have this argument all the time, 15, 16. I was still in high school. I was a junior in high school when Andre came into the picture. And ever since then, he's been such a wonderful spiritual guidance for a youngster myself. Just finishing high school, he was there for my prom, entering into college. I did projects at his house, and he paved the way for me to think in a different perspective of generating positive energy in my life. And if there's any way that I could potentially pay Andre back for all the times that he's been not only another big brother to me, but as we say, big homie, this right here is just an honor to be here to do this for him, because he was there for us for countless a million times. So I was excited this morning. I knew I was going to share some of my thoughts with you guys this morning, and it feels great to be a part of this. So that's why I'm here.
Well, we appreciate that. Mark, I could see that we probably could hear you. We can't see you though. Are you still there?
You can't see me.
No, we can't.
It says that my camera's sharing.
I can see you.
Y'all can see him?
Yeah.
I can.
Nah, I can't see him.
I can't see him.
Can you turn it off and then turn it back on, possibly?
All right, cool.
I hadn't seen him the whole time since he got back in the case. There he is.
Yeah.
All
Okay, cool. I thought I was here the whole time.
I still don't see him. I hear him, but I don't see him still.
That's cool.
But that's fine.
Yeah. So talk to us about why you're excited.
So obviously we go back many years. I think it was 2015, and I was just thinking back as everyone was like sharing their story. I was thinking, oh yeah, well, like what moment was it? And I'm not really sure if we've even spoke about it that way, but it was around the time that I had quit my job. And then I was just full-time self-employed, like and it was so how important that was to meet you, Andre, at a time when I felt like, okay, I've got it. Like, I remember we spoke, I felt like I already had it. We could move on. Things are going to be great. I know what the law of attraction is, but then I met Andre and completely blew my perspective. And we've been on this journey for five years together, where we've both been elevating. We've been watching each other. Andre's literally my mirror. So Andre will say something, and then it's the same thing going on in my life. So it's always matching. So here we are in 2021 with Andre embarking on everything that, planted the seeds and everything that he's wanted in terms of coaching and growing and building and connecting. And I'm in the same position in my life. And Andre spoke about this call happening a couple of days ago, and then I didn't really hear nothing, but then I saw the email. I was like, okay, cool, yeah, we're all in. And then when I turned the screen on and I seen all your faces, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, I've never done this before, and it's like, just to see you lot, like, it's crazy. Like, I feel that it gives me a mad energy. I had just messed up some trades. I started some trading last night, and I just messed up my whole thing, and I was like, you know what? It's whatever, man. Like that's how we roll. Like it's whatever, man. We always winning. So I'm winning, even though it's whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. So that's what's up. Cool. All right, Mr. James,
Yes, sir.
what's going on?
Man, I'm just first of all happy to be here. Happy to meet all y'all. Glad to see, black faces. You know what I mean? In this believing, type of form. And I got a background of just kind of being a deep researcher of truth. I'm a seeker of truth. And the fact that I just believe whether or not you into it, we all Masons. You know what I mean? We all are people that build with our minds and the way that we speak. And our words create our reality. So to be around, all these alchemists, in one space is very, very, very enlightening and just a beautiful opportunity. So I'm just excited to see what we can create with our minds and our words. And that's just really where I'm at.
Cool. And you guys, as I told all of you at some point, like there's really no agenda for today, but today I want like this call, I want for it to be authentic, right? I want to position myself in a way where I am the big brother, the big homie, the coach, all those things, and just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Now, if you guys don't have something you want to talk about, I may have something in the cut because I got something in the cut today. But I'd rather it flow naturally as far as what you guys want to talk about. So that way people can really get to experience what we do, how we're there for each other, how we really vibe things out, and all the elements that's connected to it. So I may stop in the middle of something if I don't think it's clear to the listener, just to make sure they understand. But again, just to see y'all, because everybody on this call knows that I'm a behind the scenes type of guy, right? And if you guys counted from the time that you know me, how long it took me to get in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause we knew it was time. Everybody on this call knows, like, it's like I always found a way out, right? And I'm real smooth and kind of smart too, you know what I'm saying? So it sounds good. It's still an excuse. But here we are. So again, I appreciate all of you guys ride with me until this moment right here. So with that being said, who got something? Who got something to talk about? What you want to talk about today?
Well, I would love to share this this board that I've kind of manifested. Mike can't see the word, but the word there is language. So I've been posting a word each month. It's kind of been the inspiration. I don't really search for the word or look for the word. It just shows up. And I think we get to talk about language because, like as James said, we're alchemists. We're creating. We're masons. With our words. What's your point of view on language? Like when you get to talk about things or you're experiencing life, you're communicating with people. I don't think some people really know the importance of language and what that means in the law of attraction.
It's so interesting that you asked that question. I'm gonna let you guys see what my shirt says, because what you said, and that was what I said I had in the cut, because it's connected. Okay, can you guys see my shirt?
Hi, I don't care. Thanks.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just a fun way, right? It's a fun way to talk about what you just talked about, because at the end of the day, we have to protect how we feel.
Right.
And a lot of times when we start to feel off, it's because of what somebody said or did. Said verbal communication, did nonverbal communication, language, right? So at some point, we have to care enough about us to not care too much about the thing. If that makes sense, right? So I want to make sure I answer your question specifically, because again, I get excited and start talking fast. So what's your question exactly?
But how important language is, for those that are familiar with the law of attraction and those that aren't.
Yeah. Language is, it's huge. It's at the top of the list, right? Because it's interesting, because when people are first learning about it, what they learn is you get whatever you say, right? Not true. You get whatever you're feeling about. So you don't get whatever you're talking about, you get whatever you're feeling about. But at the end of the day, everything starts with the thought, right? And then the thought, that's where the language comes in at, because if we're thinking it, now we're talking about it. And because we're talking about it, now we're feeling it. And then we're going to get what we get based on how we feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell, and everybody knows, I like to say how I say it is I'm a word person. Everybody on this call has heard me say that before. I'm a word person because we really have to be careful about the words that we choose, right? The words that we choose and the language that we speak. We just have to, right? Because it's almost like we talk. Oh, here we go. It's almost like we talk as if there's a gray space or a gray area when there's not. Either it is or it's not,
Mhm.
right? But we kind
Mhm.
of talk, we kind of use the language as if it is. And the real talk, we kind of, the things that we say, I think it's connected to, give me a minute. I want to say connected to our level of belief in a way, right? What we say is
Mhm.
connected to our level of belief, and to bring it full circle, belief is step 2, right? So get clear, okay? Then we're gonna believe. But if what we're saying is connected to our level of belief, how important is that? Same question. It's
Mhm.
huge because it's step 2.
Mhm.
Did that help?
Yes,
Yeah, definitely.
absolutely.
Y'all like my shirt?
It's
Yeah.
dope.
It's going.
Because sometimes, no, real, and I really think it's a fun way because, again, sometimes you are just, you could be in a line somewhere waiting, and Mark, as you, well, Mayor, as you guys say, a queue, right? And waiting, and somebody's just telling you, and it's just like, if we don't be careful, people could throw us off our game, and we could start attracting how they're feeling because we're now feeling how they're feeling. That's why it's
Mhm.
really, really, we all have our
Mhm.
point of attraction, and it all goes down to how we're feeling. So we want to make sure that through language, we're protecting how we feel, period. Because you're going to get it, whether you want it or not, right?
Now, that's been the hugest thing for me since I met you. Just and I kind of, for y'all that don't know, I met you probably last week or the week before.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Mayor introduced us. Just kind of got us. I don't know, like I don't know what it was with the energy, that he felt for me, but he thought me and you were on the same page, and obviously we are. So, but yeah, just when I met you, man, I had just went through a little situation. I'm a recording engineer, record producer, and I work all around the world, but I'm based in Cleveland, and if y'all from America know, Cleveland in the armpit of America. So it's like I'm in a situation where I really started to feel low and just feel like I can't help this place, even though I want to. And it's just, different situations. And that's how notice how I said, I feel like I can't help this place. So that's how my language is, and it's things of that nature. So when I met you, the first thing that me and you focused on was the feelings, it's language, of course, but the language, like you said, was attached to my beliefs. So we worked on my feelings, and that's really what you hit home with me. And that's what stuck with me so far, and me changing my feelings about how I feel about, relocation, or, while I'm working here, all of my feelings have changed. Therefore, my entire reality has changed here. Every single day when I wake up, how I interact with people, the words that I say, the inspiration I bring, everything's changed based on how I feel. And I just have to second that. That's all. It's just huge to make sure that attack your feelings, and make sure that they're on point and on par with where you see yourself and where you want to go.
Right. And just to connect the dots just a little bit, it was the language that you were using to let me know that it was the root cause. Hold on, let me slow down a little bit. It was the language that you were using to let me know how you were really feeling. That's why that became the focus, right? So see
Yeah,
still. Yep.
most definitely.
Jazzy, I really appreciate you bringing up the topic of language because it's so interesting, because these last couple of weeks, that's what's been on my mind. It wasn't the actual word language, but it was more of how I could communicate my thoughts and feelings that comes out my mouth for others to hear and comprehend, and also speaking out into the universe. Just to give you a little backstory when it comes to language and communication, again, Andre being the connecting tissue here, I always said to him, he always knows what to say and on my behalf. He has the ability to digest and intake what's coming out of my mouth and what I'm trying to get to, and he puts it in a simple and concise way in order for me to be like, yes, this is what I'm trying to get out. So I just want to give a shout out to Andre for that, for helping me doing that. And a testament to that was last week when we were in the thinking. Hello. Oh,
Yeah,
you
we're
can
here.
hear. Okay, when we were last, like a couple of weeks ago, last week, we were in a thinking tank and helping me formulate my foundations for my podcast. And he just does an amazing job in finding the language that I need in order to reach the type of audience that I need and be clear with myself. And also last weekend, and it's so interesting when we talk about language here and and the words that come out of our mouths. Last weekend, I went over to my dad's house, and I moved out of there probably like 5 years ago, and I had some leftover books from college and journals that I had at that time, and I found a notebook right here of things that I wrote down that I wanted to manifest. And it's so interesting because Jazzy, when you brought up language, I ran and got this notebook and I wrote everything in here about 10 years ago. And till this day, it's so interesting. And some of the things that I wrote, a few things was my ability to talk is amazing. At that time, I felt like for some reason, I wanted to be able to, and till this day, I still have like butterflies in my stomach when public speaking and doing this podcast and speaking in front of you all. I'm a little nervous, but I understand the importance of language. And the more I experience life and walk through life, I understand there's different types of languages that can be shared and how to deliver it. And I just want to read another one that I wrote down. And this is 10 years ago. So I have educated conversations with people, and that can be very vague, and I could tweak that. But being on this podcast today and having this conversation with you all is a step forward in my journey in making that possible. And that's why the beginning of this year, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to do what I need to do in order to broadcast my message out into the universe. And, the podcast is one of them. Talking to you guys is another way. I have a really hard time speaking up and letting people know how I feel because I may be afraid of hurting someone's feelings, or me being in a situation where I have to argue with people. I'm not that type of person. But I realized the importance of that and speaking into existence and how quick things come into your favor if you really truly believe and release it and ready to receive it. So again, this year is all about, for me, is communication, really digging in and finding the words that resonates with me and my feelings and sharing it with people. And this is a great start with you guys, especially during this pandemic. It's been a rough couple of months, the last couple of months for me. I can only speak for myself. I tend to like hoard things in and not have a proper outlet to share those things and let things do its, run its course. And I'm really thankful that we can come all together from different parts of the world and sit here and be transparent with each other, especially for the first time meeting everyone here. But it's good that Andre coordinated this, and I do see this being a really successful podcast.
I want to applaud you, Robert, because I remember meeting you when you were just a babe, a little one. But and just observing, when we first started the podcast, and you opened your mouth and started to speak, I was like, oh man, he's articulate. Like this guy speaks well. He seemed very mature, and very confident in who you are. So what you wrote in that paper is clearly manifested and is really consumed who you are. So so that desire that you had, the asking, and then the believing and the receiving, like you're embodying that right now. So kudos to you. So lean on that, and I'm totally proud of you, man.
Thank you, Jazzy. Thank you. And it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle for me just to give a pat on my back. You know, when I read this notebook, when I came across it, it was in a black bag, like one of those trash bags, and I opened it, and I'm just like, wow, I forgot I did all this when I was like 23, and tears came to my eyes of the things that I wrote down, and I didn't have no clue what the next 10 years is going to look like, but to look back and seeing where my mindset was 10 years ago, I was like, okay, I need to give myself credit because I was at that time 23, ahead of the game in amongst my peers and getting clear of what I wanted. And look, and this right here would be like my manual to go through life. And like it, and that's something that I'm also working on is, and James, you said it yourself. And it's interesting that you brought up Masons and alchemy, because I'm about to wrap up a book that's about Masons and ancient Egypt and America. And I can share you the title of the book so you can take a look. It's a really good book. And it's all about self-development and what the core fundamentals about being a Mason, like a master builder in a sense. And there's levels to this, you know what I mean? There's levels, but as long as you brick by brick, and as long as you look inward and know that you're self-God and that and that you could create things yourself, it's amazing. And me being, I just recently turned 33, and you know, I joke around and that's my Jesus year, but I really felt like I stepped into a whole nother level. Like my whole mindset and attitude has changed from being like, you know, we call each other, you know, little homies. We're the little homies. And, you know, I hear that dear to heart, but, you know, I really graduated to the homie status, you know what I mean? And being able to be a role model to my daughter, to my girlfriend, to my siblings, to my family, and you know, for to you guys, and I'm really putting my best foot forward. And again, this is a perfect outlet for me because these last couple of months I've just been, you know, quarantined and not really being able to interact with, you know, family members and friends, and this is very therapeutic for me. So again, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming out here and you know, opening, you know, and Andre allowing us to have this open platform to discuss. And I have you know, I can ramble on and on. And unlike Andre, I do have coffee in this cup, so it's really kicking in. But
kicking in.
Yeah, it's really kicking in. But again, this is my excitement, and I'm getting more. The ice is melting a little bit. So yeah, man, Jazzy, I thank you, and that really means a lot to me to hear that from you. Yeah, it's just another metric for me to measure. Thank you.
Mondale, I want to go to you just to see if you have anything to add with this portion, because I know you're going to have to be gone in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't have a ton to say. I think as I listen in, you know, for those of you who don't know my background, I am a behaviorist by trade. And so I pay attention to a lot of what's being said and what's being done, and recognize that what's being said forms the behaviors that we form, right? And I mean, oftentimes, sort of like Andre talked about that feeling. And for the first time since I've known Andre, even sitting here in this call, the one thing that became evidently clear to me was language is expressive even when it's not spoken, right? So in those spaces where, you know, we write things down, that becomes our expression. That becomes the express language. It's sort of like the precursor of things to come. So then it becomes like we want to be careful what we write in as much as what we speak, because that is what will become, right? That is what will become. And when we look at those words like be and come, just looking at the origin of those things. And so I'm just really, really happy, man, that, you know, we are here. I mean, really here in this space, man, because I mean, we talk to brothers all the time. I have a band of brothers that I get to talk to that, you know, I'm rocked and wild by, honestly. And I'm just like, we need more of this. We need platforms in this space and time where our world is riddled with anger and hate and injustice, to really just see that, you know, we are a collective, right? We are a collective that together are Masons, and we can build amazing things. And these structures doesn't have to always be like buildings, but these could be social structures that change lives, right? That will lead to the buildings and all that other stuff. So I'm extremely thankful. Andre, he already knows how I feel for him, how much, you know, I call him my big brother, and I'm grateful to have him as a big brother because I really look up to him, man. I mean, like, he tells me how amazing I am, but at the end of the day, I feel like you're an extension of what you've sat under, and me sitting underneath him at times has really helped me feel like, you know, In my own world, I know I'm amazing. But when I come into Andre's world, I don't have to be amazing. I get to be a brother. I get to just be. And I get to, and in that space, when I step out of the space with Andre, I become more of who I am already. So thank you, man, for everything. I could tell it. And that's just that. That's all I'm saying. I'm done.
I appreciate it. And at this point, you can drop off whenever you need to. You're more than welcome to hang in as long as you want to as well. But
yeah, I got you for at least another 2 minutes, and then I got to run into this meeting.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm taking notes as I go, so I'll circle back at the end. But Mayor and Jimmy, do you guys have anything with the whole language piece?
Yeah, like it's funny. It's really good to have a conversation about language because I feel like that's what I specialize in as like an artist, a rapper, a writer. Also writing my books. I call myself an author and a communicator. So for me, it's like the art of communication is beautiful, and I kind of spend a lot of my time feeling and thinking about how to communicate messages. How do you simplify a message where somebody has a belief around something and you can normalize it so much that you flip their whole belief because this new idea is much better? And how can you just and I kind of rehearse constantly in my mind these conversations that I'm having with people. Like almost I've been doing that probably since I was about 16, where I always see myself like communicating and sharing ideas and getting things across, and I do that with music and my books. But there's another beauty to communication, which is what I feel like we have here. And also I feel like how James, you ended up here, is the non-verbal understandings, the words that you say that tell us what frequency someone's on. Exactly. So that's another beautiful part that I really enjoy, because then it's like I feel like me when I met James, it was like things that he may have said and I may have said that was very basic, but it spoke, I think, I don't know, as if it was we had known each other for months, because it was so it's like, okay, I know your language. I call it the language of the spirits, and obviously Andre, we speak the language of the spirits, so the connection happened instantaneous when everyone jumps on the call. The connection, okay, obviously we all know Andre, but everyone said something, just one sentence that tells us a story, and that story is deep and is vast, and it says what journey you've been on, and it says where the person is heading. And this is, I think, underrated reality of our language, the law of attraction world of people that like the alchemists, the masons. I think we have a gift and advantage because we can simplify our understanding, because we understand the language of the spirits. So it's like on one end I'm into words, I'm into communicating and the writing, but on the other end it can be more of a spiritual understanding, and fewer words tell so much more.
Yeah.
So I love language for that reason.
And I'm really excited that we chose to just kind of let it flow. And I'm so grateful that Jazzy was inspired. I would say inspired. I think it's safe to say inspired to bring that to the table, right? Because he brought something to the table that's literally resonating with everybody, right? And that's one thing that I love about what we do and how we do. It's not about making things happen. And that's where a lot of people get caught up, is the whole making things happen. How do we allow space to allow the inspiration to flow? And that's what happened today, right? And actually, that's how we got here initially, right?
Yeah.
Mayor was talking about meeting James, feeling like we need to meet. We met. The first conversation was crazy. The second conversation was crazy, and it was inspiring to the point where the three of us did a podcast together because of the timing of it all. All of that was inspired, right? And then it's like, because James just got here, it's like, remember that idea that I had probably about 3 years ago? I think it's time now, right? And here we are. So I could appreciate the inspiration of it all. I appreciate you guys' individual inspiration. I appreciate the fact that you guys get inspired and get to be inspired and all those things. So again, I'm grateful. Jimmy, do you have anything to add to this part? Because I know you the only one that haven't said anything just yet. If you have anything.
I just want to say I appreciate the fact that we're really diving in deep this morning about, you know, all the inspirations that's just coming from everyone, you know, even beginning with, you know, what Jazzy has said about language. You know, I think I look at it in all sorts of perspectives as well. Even body is a language. You know, even when you show your body gestures, you show someone that you're intrigued in a conversation, or your body language will show you that you're not really interested, or showcase that you're in a particular mood. But, you know, just looking at everybody's body language now, everyone is so attentive. Everyone is so, you know, intrigued in the conversation that we're all sharing with each other. And I appreciate that. You know, I really do. And I'm the type of person that I love to learn in silence. I'm the type of person that just likes to stick like a fly on the wall and just kind of observe what everyone is saying, like really dissect what everyone's thoughts is when it comes to one particular thing. And right now, as we're talking about language, it's just mind-blowing for me, and I really do appreciate that. And it's funny how Andre showed his shirt earlier about, you know, hi, I don't care, but my shirt, I kind of want to show says, hey, I'm just here for the food.
Right.
But I want to substitute the word food for knowledge, you know, because I really appreciate the fact that I'm learning everyone's perspective when it comes to where they come from and how elevated their friendship came, beginning with Andre and things of that nature. So I really do appreciate all perspectives and what everyone's saying today.
Nice.
And speaking
question.
of, go.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Speaking of shirts as well, I have another relationship with language. I have another relationship with language, which Andre's shirt reminded me of. So was it say, hi, I don't care, thanks. So there's another side of the game where I find myself being a little bit weary of my language, because the part of me that wants to communicate messages and ideas also maybe speaking to people who isn't ready to receive those messages and ideas, and has completely opposite ways of looking at things. And I find myself sometimes being weary of, oh, what did I say? I'm now being weary of the way I communicate and how I game off and da. So my other relationship is learning how to be Andre's t-shirt, which is, hi, I don't care, thanks, which is basically, it's whatever. Like I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Like I do me, and I flow, and it's the element of the over caring that I've been massaging that relationship. So I'm just more at peace no matter what.
Right. Let me say this, Robert, before you go, because one thing that you said as we're talking about language, you said, you know, sometimes people are not ready to receive, right? That's what you said. They're not ready to receive what you have to say. And what we have to understand is that's not up to us, right? I mean, and who are we to even say what somebody's ready to receive? So my thing is the only other option is for us to be us and let everything else do what it do, because we don't know whether they're ready to receive is not up to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, let's look at the options. Say nothing, speak in your own language, or speak in their language. Which one do we choose, right? And remember, I told probably everybody at some point is this, when it comes to people, we have two choices. And that's either we meet them where they are or they meet us where we are, period. That's it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I want you guys to think about that when we're meeting people. And you guys know a phone call could be like here, and then again, you get on happy because all the things that's happening in your world. Two choices. Either you meet them there or they meet you here. That's it.
I love that language right there. I mean, that's human connection. You know,
Yeah.
there's a gap that exists between all things, and sometimes closing the gap means, yeah, you meeting them where they are. Like, and you get to take the higher road sometimes, even if their language does not really match with you. It's like, so what? I don't care. Like the T-shirt you just said, meet them where they are. Um, so that's a fun experience. Is, you know, we're here as human beings to experience and love, and how do we convey to the other person is through language. And I think that's something profound to realize. Like, we want to connect, right? We're not meant to be here and live in a vacuum. We get to experience and share and exchange and learn from each other. And without language, how do we do that? We just be doing a lot of stuff with our hands and arms, and even in that in itself is language. But I was taking notes, and I noticed something that I often share, because the word spell came up, right? And I think people have this perception of the law of attraction being mystic and magical and all these things, right? But in actuality, the language in itself, the word spell, right? When you think about magic and spelling, right? You spell words out, you put the letters together, and it creates a spell, and you whatever, and it go out and return to you. I'm just curious if anybody has realized that, or gleaned any new feeling or way of being when it comes to quote unquote magic. I know people feel like it's like, you know, kind of a eerie thing, like
Yeah, it's
people that
taboo.
may feel, yeah, it's taboo. That's the word I'm looking for. Language, right?
Robert, I see you
Um,
smiling. What you
yeah.
smiling about? There you go.
I'm about to ask Jazzy. You've been taking a peek in my journal because everything you brought up, I've written in this journal, and one of the things I wrote down was I am a great speller, and for you to expand on it with the whole mystic sense of the word spell, like we're casting a spell. In the book that I'm reading right now, you know, they explain the reasons why we keep things in secrecy, and we only share certain types of knowledge with certain types of people, because not everyone can handle the truth sometimes. But eventually, as the chapters go on, you eventually the whole purpose of, and they refer God as Allah. What God wants is for us to spread that knowledge and whatnot. And I think while at the time when I wrote that, I want to be a great speller, because I'm not really the greatest speller, but now looking back now, I'm thinking, okay, I want to be a good speller. I want to be able to share that word. I want to be able to, when I speak in positivity. I want to help my fellow brothers and sisters. So that is a form of me evolving. It's not so much of me knowing how to spell Mississippi correctly, but it's more of spelling of Mississippi and speaking from a great experience or sharing some type of knowledge. And that's just a anecdote example of where I'm coming from. But I do want to ask this question before I forget. I'm curious to know, and we're staying on the top of language and communication. I'm curious to know, what are your guys' I'm trying to put this in a question that's easy to answer. What's your go-to communication style? I know, like, for example, James, you're an engineer. I'm just assuming you communicate well through music. Mark, you're an author, so you've written spoken word or written word. For me, I love comedy. My dialogue, I can have a conversation with someone with keeping it light, but keeping it informative. So I'm just curious to know, what are your guys' like number one communication skill or language that helps you get through life?
So
I'll go ahead.
yeah. No, I'm actually an artist first before author. So I'm a rapper first. So music. So music is a way, and it's interesting because Jazzy, if I can call you Jazzy, because actually that's how I know you.
Yeah.
From Andre from before. But so you're talking about, like, so it was, I haven't really heard it framed like that. So when you're writing a words, you're spelling them out, but you're also casting a spell because they evoke the reality. So that's beautiful. So when I'm writing, that's essentially what is in my brain about what I can do. So often I speak in like positive present tense, because I know that when that person listens to it and they recite the words, it becomes their positive present tense. And so it's like evoking, I see it like evoking a spell of, okay, and I'm giving you my energy and my frequency. And so even when I'm writing something that's sad or has, you know, any sadness in it or something that's not positive, I try and frame it in a way so it feels like an experience that we're overcoming. So when the person isn't reciting it or experiencing it, they're going to, oh yeah, we overcoming, even though there was a darkness or sadness there. It feels like it's moving forward. So as a writer, I am conscious of that, but more, I don't really try to do that. It's kind of like my natural instinct that came, but I'm aware of that process because I have thought about it. But yeah, that's my go-to.
Nice. James, you was about to say?
I was gonna say, I like that, Mayor. By the way, that's huge. My go-to language is like light language. You know, just kind of inspiration. I kind of try to channel from the universe. I try to channel from the energy around me, and the way I communicate that through is through my actions. So I would say that my mode would be, because through my actions, that's how I inspire. So I try to receive, you know, from the energy around me. I try to receive from, you know, tapping into the universe, tapping into a higher frequency, sitting in my seat of consciousness, try to stay out of my mind and just trying to channel, you know, what's coming in from, well, I feel like there's like a frequency you can tap into that kind of supersedes your mental and your animal. And you can really hear something. That's just, this is me. It's going to sound a little weird, but I kind of tap into that, and then I act that out through my vibrations. And that's why, you know, I think that would be my main mode of communication. And that's how I kind of get my points and my information across, because that's how I met Mayor, you know, just sitting down, thinking about where I wanted to be through visualization. And then from there, kind of forcing myself through the inspiration that I felt into that situation out there in London. You know, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm out in London linking with, you know, this guy and all his friends and all his, you know, his partners and things of that nature. So I think my biggest mode of communication would be light, you know, light language.
That's one thing that I've realized. You know, when hearing your guys, you know, language that works for you, I do hear undertone of providing a service to people. You know, giving a piece of yourself, and that is the key to getting the things that you want, is to providing a service. And for me, understanding that, that's what my attention is always going to be about, is asking myself, am I providing the service to my best abilities to help this person out, especially if I know better? And one of the things that I find out would really move mountains for me is through language. You know, like action speaks louder than words. Yes, I get that, and I feel like I have a good grip on that part. But there's other facets to making things come all around, and you know, communication is key. So that's why I'm curious to know, what are your guys like outlet in achieving that? You know, through writing, through light words. For me, is also keeping it light, keeping it funny. Like Andre knows, he gets into character when we talk like shawty shit, and we get things going. And that's the language that I'm used to. But it's always good to keep your tool shed full with different tools that you can use at different times. And you know, the coming of minds of this podcast is really a testament to that. Thanks guys for sharing what works for you guys, because you know, I'm still working out like what works for me. Like I want to be I want to communicate clear and keep it concise. You know, I don't like using big words. I don't like, you know, trying to make myself sound, you know, important and smart. But I have a lot to share, because I'm a feelings type of guy, and I lead with my heart. But yeah, that's it.
I want to jump in really quick because it's funny. He was saying stay out of his journal. I'm all in his journal. You all on my journal because when you asked the question, I wrote service. I said my language is service of service. You know.
We gotta cover.
Yeah, my language is service and love, you know, and I work in music as well, so I have a deep relationship with the music industry and the language that's there and what's being evoked through emotion and even the frequencies of the music because those notes are frequencies as well, and those frequencies, you know, different chords make you feel a certain type of way, right? So my language is service because you know I even though I know it's not up to me to shift someone's emotion, but I enjoy the experience of happiness, and I think people really operate out of happiness when they're in a place of love. So yeah.
And all of this is really good. I'll go out and share mine because I do have some things I want to say. And you guys, we right at an hour, so I want you guys to tell me if you want to keep going after this or not. You know, it's all good with me, right? I would say mine is kind of connected to what James said because if I had to give it a name, it would be listening, right? It'll be the art of listening connected with the art of inspiration for me, right? As far as language, right? Because when I get into a space and you guys know me, it's about hearing, right? So it's so interesting that we're talking about, you know, the whole communication piece. But for me, my go-to is hearing, right? Because once I hear it and I hear it clearly, then I know what to do. Again, that's how we got here, right? So mine will be hearing. But Robert, I want to talk a little bit about, well, everybody, because we're talking about language, and you know, at the end of the day, this is a coaching call, and the foundation being the law of attraction. And I hear some words that's being thrown around as we're talking about language that we don't have to get into right now, but you know, I heard hard times, I heard afraid, I heard struggle, I heard forcing myself. You know, again, those are words that we're using that doesn't really resonate completely with who we are and what we know, right? So, you know, we could definitely talk about that again. But Robert, what I'm hearing, and I think everybody agree, if I could just do this, is that as it relates to communication, and again, we've been doing this for a while, all of your uncertainties, right, has been and is now in your head. You are an amazing. Doesn't this guy communicate?
Yeah.
Isn't he articulate? So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that it's truly, it was then, and it's still part of it now. It's still in your head. This brings me to like hoping, believing, and knowing, and the difference between all of them, right? 10 years ago, you was hoping that it would be different, right? Low key, you're kind of believing that it's different now, right? And all I'm saying to you and everybody will co-sign this is just know that it is. All that you want to be, it already is.
Because from all of our perspective, it 100% already is. But then hearing that dialogue just there, and I think to myself, rah, it's like you don't know what we hear and see, and it's like it's kind of like a made up story that has followed you for so long, and it's like, and I said something earlier, and I saw you nodding as well. So I could sense that maybe we shared some of those doubts, or like I know that people see me as I truly am, but I sometimes create these stories that reduces that, and it's just crazy because I'm just like what we know and see is completely different to, you know, whatever that little niggle is in the back of your mind.
Right. So Robert, how do you feel about that? And I'm gonna go somewhere else, and then we're gonna kind of wrap up. So what are you feeling about hearing everybody? How do you feel about hearing everybody say that?
You know, off the top, I feel good. You know, it feels good to have, you know, people cheering you on and letting you know, like, yo, you're doing a good job, man. And I mentioned this before, you know, I don't really get that all the time, and I do, you know, you're the biggest critic. You know, you critique yourself down to T. And it feels good to hear people and feels good to hear people say like, yo, you're doing good. What you're saying, what you're putting down is what we're picking up. And, you know, that's something that I keep beating myself over. But since the beginning of this year, I made a conscious decision to put myself first and start building those building blocks and building the courage and minimizing those fears and doubts is very helpful. But yeah, man, you know, I can't find the words to string a sentence together, but it does. To the feeling feels really good. It feels good and encouraging. I tell you that.
That's good.
So you guys, I'm gonna say this. I mean, this was an amazing first call, right? Amazing first call from my perspective. I do encourage you guys to take notes so that way one can build off another, right? Because there's some things here that I would want to talk about so other people can see what we do and how we do, and how at the end of the day we are here for each other and we inspire each other. Because it's one thing for me to point out some of the phrases that was used, and I see everybody nodding, right? Which lets me know, okay, so I don't really have to talk about it. They get it, right? But yeah, because they get it. Because when I said that, it was like, oh yeah, because I could list something that everybody said except Jimmy, because he's kind of fly on the wall, so he's saying, right? But yeah, so amazing first call. But just take some notes so we could just carry on, because that's something I want to talk about. Because even though we are, I would say 90, even though we operate in this space, I would say collectively, probably 75 to 100% of the time, right? It's still important to do the work, right? And even the pauses, you guys see how I pause, and you guys know me well. See, that's the listening, right? That's what I do when I'm hearing. It's like I'm just listening. So it's like, give me the word, don't let me create a word, right? But yeah, so how do you guys feel about this being our first call? We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I took some notes, and the what resonates with me is the hoping, believing, and knowing, and I underline right under that, closing the gap, because those are right. The hoping, believing, and knowing. That's a progression, right? And in that progression, you're closing the gap, and I think that's something hot right there to talk about.
Do you mean that in a do you mean that in a term of like closing the gap is of time, or do you mean is it like could you expound on that a little bit?
So I have this experience of like what you desire, right, is over there and it's far from you, right? But the hoping and believing and knowing, you embody it. It's not separated. It's part of you, right? Whether it's something tangible or something intangible. So often people stay in a place of hoping, but you're on the way, but you're not there. It's not of you, you know?
Yeah, hope is a strategy. Hope is a wish.
Yeah.
It sounds good, but at the end of the day, it's a wish, and we don't wish.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's interesting
So
that
I like
I
that.
say, you see this? And then again, I didn't even know you was going to say this. You say closing the gap. I say,
Man.
Wow.
see, right? And this is what you would call, this is what you would call, well, people from the outside looking at will call magic. But for us, it's just exciting. It's another reason to be happy, right? It's another level of confirmation. It's like, shit, there it is. You know what I'm saying? So for us, it's just another level of confirmation. Call it what you want to, right? Everybody has the right to call it whatever they want to. But for us, it's a long way from magic, because one thing that I noticed, all of us was using the word interesting, one of my favorite words, right? Because it sits in the middle of everything. But everybody kept saying it was interesting. Everything was interesting. Well, it is interesting. And at the end of the day, it's like, what do we think? It should be exactly what it is, right? It should be this. How could it not be this? How could we not have a lot to say?
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's amazing. It's really, truly amazing. So I really, really appreciate you guys being here. Again, the next one, what I challenge you guys to do is to look at the notes that you took. Look at what you would bring to the next call, but start working on that now. Because at the end of the day, we always know. right? We always know. So start working on it. But then I do want to talk about it because at the end of the day, I want people to join this call because they feel inspired, they feel empowered, but they feel safe, right? They feel safe. Yeah. That's
You go.
what it is.
Everybody got to
Yeah.
go. Because if not, I want. What's one more thing on that page we could touch on, man? I don't know what everybody time looking like, but
I mean, can I just mention one thing about the language thing? Is just I just know that we were meant to come together this morning because for some odd reason I just feel like so we're all speaking the same language here. You know, as far as you know what I mean, like Jazzy and Robert, you guys, your thoughts are so in comparison that you guys are speaking the same thing. You know what I mean? And then when Jazzy said about closing the gap and Andre showing the book about bridging the gap. I mean, this is all the same language. We're just speaking in different perspectives. And we're here today to understand everyone's perspective this morning. So, you know, again, like I mentioned earlier, you know, this shirt says I'm here for the food, but I'm really here for the knowledge that I'm receiving from everyone. You know, everyone has their different story. Andre is introducing this podcast, and we're from here, we're just going to continue to grow. And I can't wait to see how much language we're going to speak moving forward about other topics that we're going to bring to the table and kind of see this expand, you know, a little bit more than just, you know, 5 to 6 guys, you know, just to kind of see how it's going to expand to 20 people is just something I'm looking forward to. So, yeah, I just think that we all are speaking the same language here. We're just a matter of trying to understand the dialect and things of that nature. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
So one thing, so thank you, Jimmy. One thing that James just said, because there's one thing that's on my spirit that I would want to talk about just to go ahead and, you know, to use as that thing. And I would say the energy is happening, right? The energy is going to happen. We cannot get off these calls and not feel a 10. The only thing I want to encourage you guys to do is to let it flow. Write that down. Because I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And it's like, oh, shit, that's what he meant. Right? But just let it flow. And I'll use one example. I didn't tell, James and I had a conversation, and he was talking about either moving to New York or moving to LA, right? I didn't tell him on purpose. And I didn't tell Jazzy about James either on purpose, right? Because, again, everybody does, you know, what we do. But I didn't do it on purpose, again, because I didn't want it to be because I said it. Right, I wanted it to flow, and even though the energy is high now, I still want to just go with the natural flow of things, right? Because there's no reason why. Well, Mayor, you know, you and I was talking the other day. When it comes to the podcast, right, my podcast, right now, somebody is actually working on the intro and outro, right? There's no reason why we should not be able to do that in-house, right? The talent that's sitting here. Right, somebody vocal should be on it. Somebody produced the beat. Somebody just like there's no reason we should not have to outsource this stuff, and that's part of the reason for this call too, right? Because my ultimate goal is when you see my name, everybody else's name is in the credit. Everybody's name on here should be in the credits because of what they bring to the table. Executive producer. And if I called out titles, I promise you everybody will know who they are. You see what I'm saying? Like I could do that right now. Robert, I see how you looking, but yeah, because we already know. So that's a seed that I'm planting, and I want to come back, and maybe that's offline because I mean we could keep private as much as we share because that's mastermind stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I really want to inspire people right now. Look and see who you have around you, right? Everybody's talented. Everybody said I'm no more talented than everybody on this call. I know my lane though, right? And I will support you like there's no tomorrow. In my lane. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
100%.
I want you guys to think about that. When it comes to everything that everybody's doing, everybody's name should be on the credit. And I know that. I'm not guessing that.
If I could speak to that, I think in that space sometimes there's a block, right? And there's always a pull and push, right? There's two ends of the stick. You know, there's sometimes you feel despair or sadness, and you would love to get from here to there, but it's like, how do I get there, right? That's, you know, closing the gap. But I think that happens because well, we know that it happens because of belief, right? Somebody brought that up earlier. It's the belief system that was instilled in us, from early experiences or from a repetition of things that are occurring in our lives, And like Robert, you were speaking about how you wanted to spell and speak well, um, you know, like you were already doing it. It's like stuff that we make up in our head. So there's probably things that we're making up in our head that are preventing us from diving into the people that are around us, or diving into like making that connection and closing the gap with the human beings in order to fulfill what we truly desire. Um, so I think there's something to be said there, and that, Andre, if you feel like this is something that we can do on another podcast or talk about in some other time, um, I, I think it's a lot to be said there about that belief system and why we're speaking the language and why we are where we are in life.
Yeah, I kind of want to hear a little bit more though, because I mean, I think it'd be okay to go like maybe 5 minutes into this right now, because I'm
Mhm.
interested to hear more about what you just said and how it affect, because I know and it's so interesting because with all of you guys, I would say it's a time to be general and it's a time to be specific, right?
Mhm.
You went general on purpose, which I could appreciate, right?
Mhm.
So now I'm just asking a little bit more. So what made you say that, and what do you want? What do you feel like we should talk about when it relates to that?
Um, just like we were saying earlier, what's in you is going to come out. How you're feeling is going to come out, right? And the basis for that feeling is usually backed up by belief. So it's like this, this progression from how you're feeling, what's in you, what's coming out. It comes out as a language, but it also comes out in body language, or how you're responding to people, and how you are creating the environment based off because you feel the energy. Like we're feeling the energy on this call, right? But this energy is based off a belief system that we've either progressed to, and there's a belief system that is probably affecting our progression, right? Holding us back.
Gotcha. So I know the
And I
main
deal with
person.
that. I deal with that personally. So, and Andre knows.
Yeah, because I think that would make great content for another call. However, I will say this part, a lot of it, generally speaking, is connected to people still feeling like they have to do it.
Mhm.
Because if you didn't have to do it, then there's no conversation to have,
Mhm.
right? For me, I have to be told when, right? I just
Mhm.
have to be inspired to the win, inspired to the action. So I don't really feel like it's me anyway. So I don't get caught up in it. Does that make sense? So I just think that for the most part, what I would encourage you guys to think about is how much of this do I truly feel like I have to make happen?
Mm.
And even you said too, we kind of like, how do we get there, right? Another call. That's still the how though. And I know that's not our concern, right? So
Mhm.
you see, it's just cleaning it up a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's just know that it's something that you don't have to make happen. Because if you know you don't have to make happen, then you can remove yourself from a certain perspective. You can remove yourself from it and then just act when you're inspired to. And to me, that has nothing to do with people. Like the people that show up, you guys showed up. You guys showed up for me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys can do it
Yep.
again, won't
Yep.
you? So,
Yes.
so
Heartbeat.
yeah. Was that helpful though? A little bit, because like I said, we got a lot to talk about. So what I also want you guys to do too is just shoot me an email, shoot me a text of things that you heard in this call that you want to address specifically, right?
Definitely.
And let's just address it because I got a lot too. So it's really, really good. And I think the believing piece is huge. And I have one, like actually the hope and believing and knowing is huge. It's really, really. And then this one, this is one of the most powerful ones.
Mhm.
Because I think it starts here, right? Do we even know?
Mhm.
Do we even know? Right? So again, we could go on and on and on. Mary, you good over there?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's my angle. I'm all in. This is how I'm really. but this
Let's
makes
get
me
it.
look like this.
So,
I was thinking that as well. It's funny because I kept thinking that. I was like, I swear I look like two, and and then he just like, what up? Yeah.
that's all good. So, what I want to do before we wrap up, I just want to go around and just tell me what you guys' biggest takeaway was, and then after that, we are going to wrap up, and then we'll talk about offline when we're going to do this again.
I like the that casting spells conversation that Jazzy that brought up when he was talking about like the spell, the word, the spell, and that kind of like, I don't know, I like that. I'm gonna sit on that some more because I feel like it's very true. Like you I don't know, like you can meet somebody and then maybe let's say you're just talking to them and maybe they don't believe in themselves or something, but maybe you haven't really picked it up, but you're just seeing what you see and then you see more and then you just start saying things that in their deep inner being they know, but they're consciously not thinking that. And then that person, because you was speaking things into their reality, like basically an example is I met this girl once, and she was in the studio and we literally chopped up for a couple minutes, and then I said, you could be like a radio presenter or da. And she was like, oh my god, this is exactly what I want to do, and then she brought up all these non-beliefs that she had, but all I knew was what I saw. And then, down the line, that's exactly what she's doing. And I said to her the other day, like, I called it. And I said that, I said, I called it. And she said, like, yeah, but it's like the spell of like the language in those moments can be important for someone to like, and it's like, I always see life as of service and of duty. Like that's and one thing I like about that is because it's not because I want something, so I find joy in it. So for me, it's like I find joy, in being able to spark light, change, whatever. So I like the concept of like, the words of spell. It makes it fun for me. It's like I can see it like a bit of a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
My biggest takeaway was Jimmy, with his shirt that say, "I'm just here for the food." Because for me, it's like if he showed up because he knew what to expect. Like he wasn't gonna show up to the party if it wasn't no food. So he came for the knowledge, but he expected it to be here, and because of that, you're receiving it, and that's really the concept of everything I'm learning from Andre right now. If you don't believe that you're gonna receive, then you're not even gonna show up to be available for it. So you have to believe that you're gonna get it, and then you'll kind of free yourself to have the energy to show up. So my biggest takeaway was your shirt.
No, I appreciate that, brother. Man, I didn't even think of it in that perspective, but you're absolutely right. I appreciate that. My biggest takeaway is what my brother had mentioned about, going back in the book and didn't realize that things that he had mentioned for himself, that he wanted for himself, and 10 years later, here it goes. It kind of reminds me of the vision board, how we all had expectations for ourselves, or whether it's something that we want materialistically or a new habit, we place it on our vision board and we forget about it. And then, you reach down to your belongings years later and you realize you manifest those things without even knowing that you mentioned it back when, and that kind of makes me want to think about all the times that, I was introduced to the law of attraction and I was writing down these things. There's probably so many thoughts and pictures of things that I have on my vision board that I probably accomplished 2-3 years ago and didn't even notice. So it's just those things that, kind of made me refresh my memory on, what, I do need to go back in my roots and kind of dig up the things that I've learned back then, because I want to see how much I've grown from the boy that I was to the man that I am now. So I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate all levels of perspectives that everyone has mentioned today, even from the very beginning when everyone was mentioning where they were from. I was like, wow, we got LA, we got DC, London, New York, Atlanta. These are all major cities
You ain't
You
even
know, that
mentioned
everybody
Cleveland.
knows that. Oh,
He
I told
you
you,
said
man.
you said the armpit of US.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see all of us brothers come together and share this knowledge, share this language, share the beliefs. And again, just to kind of hear what everyone was saying this morning is inspirational. So I am looking forward to the next one. And that was my biggest takeaway.
Nice.
My biggest takeaway was hearing everyone's specialty in communication and language. It lets me know there's no linear or cookie cut way of expressing yourself or communicating with others. You can always tap into other things that could help you, express or let the other person know in different forms. It could be in the arts, it can be in writing, it could be just in thought, or just, lending your ear, you know what I mean? And I look forward to having more discussions with you guys. And I'm also looking forward to challenge one another, ask tough questions, get clarity in a way, because steel sharpens steel. And this is definitely a good start and a good platform to do so. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say my biggest takeaway is commitment, relentless commitment, because Andre is someone that I admire and who I love dearly, and we often are focused on commitment with those that we love, right? And he know that he called me last night and was like, I know this is gonna be kind of early for you, but you can come if you want, and but I was like, no, I love this brother. Like, I'm gonna get up and be on time. Might not wash my face or brush my teeth, but I'm gonna be on the call. So love breeds and births, commitment, relentless commitment, and amazing things can come out of that. So there's something else. And you guys are totally committed to this too. So that shows, your growth, and also shows what we're accomplishing. So commitment.
Well, cool. I appreciate that. I have notes everywhere, right? But I'm gonna sit in it for a second and just kind of share. I think my biggest takeaway right now is, and I want you guys to feel it too, is that we are where we're supposed to be, right? So let yourself off the hook. Press the reset button. It's okay, right? And this is coming from energy that I'm feeling. So I'm just saying it, but just let yourself off the hook. We are where we're supposed to be, because if anybody would have been somewhere different prior to this moment couldn't exist. Right? The one that we so appreciate, the one that's filled with love, respect, joy, all those other things. If we would have been somewhere different in any other moment of our lives, this moment couldn't exist. So let this moment be confirmation that you not only were where you're supposed to be, you are currently where you're supposed to be.
What made you say that?
Like I said, it's an energy thing for me. It's what I'm feeling. It was what I felt to say.
Interesting.
It's what I heard to say. Why? What made you ask that? Let's go.
I just found it really interesting that you said that, because I was like, oh, that was nice for me to hear. And then I was like, oh yeah, like I just felt like everyone liked to hear that. But then I was like, but I don't feel like any of us said anything that would make you say that. That's what it was. I know. And I just wanted to also hear that you got the signal. I like to hear that as well.
So it's the different, and I received it in the way, back to Robert's initial question, I received it in the way that I receive it, right? My go-to is to hear, and then so I wait to hear, and then I speak. Again, what I said was not even written down. That's why I said, and I don't know if you guys heard me, I said I'm gonna sell it into it, but then I went straight there. That fast, right? But yeah,
left yourself open.
Yeah, always. So that's me. But I'm just letting you guys know we are all, me included, are all where we're supposed to be. I think there's beauty in that. And if you guys just sit still for a second, you could feel the relief in that. I think there's some relief in it for everybody. Like you could literally feel the relief, like, You know what I'm saying? And just let it go, because some of us was trying to make something, and all of this is just flowing now. But all of us was trying to make some things happen and felt like certain things need to happen in a timely manner and all this other stuff. Breathe.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Law and Logic podcast. Stay connected with us directly through AndreHills.com. To join the discussion, follow us on Facebook at Creating Forward Movement and Instagram at Creating_Forward_Movement. To speak with Andre, please send an email to lawandlogic@AndreHills.com. And as always, continue to accelerate your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay fully up to date. Until next time, keep attracting.